Hello everyone, welcome to Advanced Marketing. This is the Chapter 1 lecture. Know that all these chapter lectures are going to be somewhat brief. I'm just going to kind of hit the high points here and go through things fairly quickly. I will expect that you have read the chapter already, or will do so shortly after reading this, viewing this, because concepts from these chapters are on the exam. That comes up in the middle of the term. So you want to make sure that you are familiar with them and understand what they really are. Okay. So chapter 1 is just kind of a basic summary of um, marketing and the marketing process, and it's a bit of a review. You guys are all, or should be all, marketing majors, so you've um, been exposed to the 4Ps and marketing strategy and all those things numerous times. So like I said, we'll go through this one pretty quickly and the others fairly quick as well. Okay, basic chapter outline. This is really what the chapter is about. Challenges and opportunities of marketing, basic marketing concepts we'll go through pretty quickly. What do we actually do in marketing? You've heard a lot about again, the 4Ps, and that advertising is part of it and personal selling is part of it, but we're going to talk about some things in more detail here. But we're going to go back to the top level, marketing strategy. Strategy drives the activities, the decisions that you make. Okay, so things going on today that are both challenge and a problem. The first thing is there's been this major power shift to consumers. You have so many different avenues in which to gather information and make decisions about product purchases. A good example is, with technology, we can go into, say, Best Buy, we can try out a number of laptops, and then we can go online and find the cheapest price and buy the product from that place. So this is a concept we call showrooming. In essence, brick and mortar retailers end up being just quite simply showrooms. So we've all done it. Don't lie and say you haven't, because we all have, and we will again very shortly. Okay. So that is a big opportunity. It's a big challenge. Amazon uses it to their advantage. Brick and mortar realtors have. I keep saying realtors. Retailers. It's a big challenge, and they're starting to try to respond to that. Price matching is something that's worked pretty well for Best Buy. Massive increase in product selection. Again, this is also related to technology. At your fingertips, you can shop for products from retailers all over the world. Used to not be able to do that. Definitely before you guys were born or were aware of technology and e-commerce. Before that, this was kind of how it is. You lived in a town and you needed a TV. You went to Sears and Service Merchandise and Montgomery Ward and a couple other places, and you bought a TV. There wasn't a whole lot of this looking at hundreds of different places, all with personalized, specialized deals. Audience and media fragmentation. Social media is big now. Used to not be a thing, so there's a lot more places for us to interact with consumers and consumers to view information. Changing value propositions. Consumers value a lot more different things than they used to. Could be quality, could be low price, could be socially responsible sourcing, could be lots of different things. Okay, and so forces marketing to stay on their toes. Shift in demand patterns as well. Our population is getting older, and so demand shifts as well. Increasing demand for products related to older people, for example, would be something that's a challenge and an opportunity for sure. Ethics, privacy, identity theft, all those things are a big deal that can cause lots of problems. You put up an e-commerce website, people are really going to be concerned about, is my information going to get out? How can I be assured that it is safe, and things like that. Okay. Unclear legal jurisdiction. There's just a lot of issues with things we do and things we say that are they legally protected, are they not, can be a problem. Okay. Talking about media fragmentation, if you look here, you'll see that between 2010 and 2014, again, this is a couple years old, so the information is probably different now, but you can see that the use of smartphones and tablets have grown exponentially. Television's pretty flat. Print is on the decline for sure, as well as radio. Okay, so challenges and opportunities for marketing. Basic concepts: exchange. You've already talked about this. Just exchanging something of value for something of value, basically. Okay. In order for exchange to happen, there must be multiple parties, must be willing and able and to agree to such a thing. Each one has something that the other one values, and everyone needs to carry through with the actual exchange. Okay. So notice it says nothing here about money. It doesn't have to be a purchase. It could be exchange of information or ideas, things like that. Think about political campaigns. They are not, well, they are asking for money, but they're also trying to exchange their promises for your vote. Okay, so that would be an example where money's not involved. These I already mentioned. Each party must be free to accept or reject, and belief that it's mutually desirable. The product, okay, something that is acquired through the exchange. Okay, so people tend to, when they say product, they think of tangible products, what we call goods, but know that products are more than just goods. They can be services, ideas, all kinds of things. Okay, so you can see a list of examples there. I'm not going to go through them. What is utility? Utility is like it says there, the ability to satisfy someone's need or someone's want. Okay, if your products don't provide any sort of utility, then they're not going to be purchased and you're not going to be in business very long. Okay, 3 types of utility. Again, form, time, and place. Not going to expound on them too much. Okay, but time and place utility are both somewhat related to distribution. The place, P of the 4 Ps. Possession utility and psychological utility. Possession utility is probably related, is related to place as well, and psychological utility, would relate to the product itself. So what do we do in marketing? Okay, first thing we do is we do strategic planning. Okay, we set up a framework that hopefully will lead to success. Put together a game plan, put together ideas about who we're going to go after and how we're going to go after that particular crowd, and then we put together a formal marketing plan that basically works as a roadmap to allow us to carry out and achieve our strategic game plan. Okay, we do a lot of research. So research is a big part of marketing as well. Marketing is not just about creating funny ads. There's a lot more to it. Research and analysis are huge. Okay, you do some internal analysis, you do some external analysis, you analyze your competition, you analyze the consumer environment, you analyze yourself, and lots of different things here. Information is very valuable to creating not only marketing strategy, but marketing tactics and activities to help you carry out that strategy. Competitive advantage. I know you've talked about this before, but it's something that you do better than everyone else, that provides a significant source of value to the firm and draws consumers to you. And when I say consumers, I can be talking about businesses as well, if we're speaking of the B2B context. Okay. So again, if you have a significant competitive advantage, it's something that is hard to imitate and thus allows you to be successful. Apple, for example, their competitive advantage is their brand. Their brand basically allows their products to sell at whatever price they choose. Okay, so they could come out with new brand extensions that are totally unrelated to phones and tablets, but put their name on it and they'll do really well. Okay, that's a significant competitive advantage for them. Lots of companies their competitive advantage is their brand. Okay, know that a competitive advantage is actually not a competitive advantage if it's easily imitated. So you've got significant price advantages over your competition. Typically, that's not a competitive advantage because they can step in and just lower their prices and meet you. It's pretty easy to imitate. Okay, decision we make, market segmentation. I know you've talked about target marketing. I know you've talked about program decisions. You need to decide basically how you communicate the benefits to consumers. You need to figure out how much to charge for your products. You need to generate revenue, but you also need to generate perceived value based on those prices that you charge. Distribution and supply chain, how are you going to get products to the end user? Promotion, again, this goes back to the link about how do you communicate the product, let people know about the product, and start to generate interest in the product. Okay, branding and positioning, also huge here. You're creating some sort of image in consumers' minds that allows your product and your brand to be conceptually different in consumers' minds, ideally in such a way that they're going to use that information to choose your brand over the others. And again, think about Apple, think about Coca-Cola. Those brands help them, separate themselves in consumers' minds from their competition. Okay, so when consumers go to the store, they look for those brands and they purchase those brands. So it's a beautiful thing for the company, for sure. Social responsibility, ethics, huge deal. It's this notion that companies have the obligation to do right by customers and employees and communities and the environment, society in general, without harming or creating negative impact too much. Okay. Ethics kind of is basically a subset of social responsibility. It falls within that realm. It just has to do with acceptable conduct. Don't mislead, don't harm, don't lie, don't use and abuse resources or consumers or employees, things like that, because consumers don't want to be associated with companies that do those sorts of things. Okay, implementation. This is the ability to actually do what you say or what you've planned to do. Okay, executing the marketing plan is what we call it. Okay. Control is related to implementation. It's just the ability to evaluate what you're doing, to kind of understand if you're doing well and if you're not, and what changes need to be made to improve things. Okay. Developing relationships. Okay, relationship marketing is huge nowadays. It's not just about getting the sale, it's about making and keeping consumers happy so they'll come back and they'll tell other people, do lots of other really great things for you. It's a table from the book that just talks about the difference between transactional and relationship marketing. Take a look at it and just know that transactional marketing, I like to call the slash and burn method. We're going to do whatever we can to squeeze money out of a customer, even if they're not happy and never come back. Whereas relationship marketing is, nurture that relationship. At some point, it will reap benefits for the firm. Big time challenges of marketing strategy. Things are changing. Things are always changing. If we did this lecture 10 years ago, a lot of the content will be totally different. 10 years ago, it was Instagram, LinkedIn was around, but it wasn't that big a deal. But now they're huge in marketing. Okay, people-driven nature. People are all different. They're all, fallible. They've got their pluses and their minuses and their personality conflicts. So that can make things a little complicated. Okay, lack of rules for choosing marketing activities. There's no handbook that says for this particular product category you must choose these activities. So it's kind of up to you to decide what works best. Okay, lots of evolution of marketing and business practices. There are things that were done in marketing 25 years ago that now people would raise an eyebrow at and say, wait a minute, what are you doing? Okay, so that's a challenge to stay on top of that. Customer expectations are always being ratcheted up, and a lot of it is our own fault. You know, the better we are at delivering product and delivering service and keeping consumers happy, the more they expect from us. And so that's a challenge to manage expectations, but know that we have to meet expectations because they're always on the rise. Satisfaction is at an all-time low. Brand loyalty, with the exception of certain product categories, is at an all-time low. So there's a lot of churn, as we call it, lots of customers leaving and shopping around and not necessarily buying just one particular brand. So what do? How do you reverse this trend, at least within your particular organization? It's tough. Okay, price sensitivity, because we have so many new ways to shop for products, it's easy to price shop, and therefore we're becoming a lot more price sensitive. So that's also a challenge. You know, we talk about relationship marketing and how it's you know, the gold standard, but on the flip side, consumers still are looking for a low price. And so how do we satisfy that while also maintaining some sort of relationship orientation? Okay, attitudes toward business and marketing are on the decline as well. There's a lot of distrust for businesses, a lot of distrust for marketing. So it can cause problems. Okay, competition is fierce all over the place. You know, expanding into foreign markets is a big impetus these days, and that's hard. If you've taken global marketing already or international business, you'll know that it's just hard. Okay, aggressive cost cutting. Your competitor cuts his prices or her prices. You know, what do you do? Do you meet them? Do you match them? Could be a bit of a challenge. Okay, and that's all we're going to say about chapter 1. Just kind of like I said, a very brief summary of what's going on in the chapter. Just read through it. If you have questions, don't hesitate to let me know, and we'll talk again in chapter 2.